Good day. Today I'd like to waste my breath and talk about some of the deep societal problems ongoing in Western culture, given the string of high-profile mass shootings, the loneliness epidemic, and men reporting mostly being single. Some 60% of men report being single, and 40% of women do the same. If you have children or married or in some tightly knit community, perhaps this isn't the video for you. You're too encapsulated with your own good fortune that this simply seems like background noise, let's say. So who am I? I'm just a young man in his 30s who's lived quite a bit of life, been up and down the country, around the world even. And I'm not bragging. I've just seen a lot, and I've asked a lot of questions. So, I should address that the issues stemming today predominantly come from a broken and mismanaged extractive system which places human importance over nature and all other living things. So fundamentally, it's flawed to the core. So it makes sense that all these symptoms of this disease are present. Loneliness, mass shootings, women and men reporting being more lonely than ever, even though population has never been higher. It's late-stage capitalism. It's a place where people have been reduced to atomized individuals, encapsulated in their own social circles, working paycheck to paycheck. Mostly. Maybe your bills are in check, but yeah, you don't have much future savings. Not like there's a future anyways. So, without going on a tangent on that, I also want to mention that guns are everywhere in Western society. There is more guns floating around, so the mass shootings are kind of understandable given the access to firearms, but it's people, and the health of the people is not right. In culture, in relationships, in our personal family dynamics, I can't think really of one family that is completely intact and together and not dysfunctional in some ways. But that should be a given. Family dynamics are complicated and intricate. Again, I'm a man in his 30s. I'm now at a place where I can see all this clearly. It's taken years for me to reach self-development, self-enlightenment about my purpose, how I came to be. I spent years walking around like a lost soul, getting into things I probably shouldn't have, for sure. Coping mechanisms, definitely. Now, I can look at women who I still think are extremely beautiful in their 20s, and really see them for who they are. I can look past the mirage, the genetics, okay? But I will say, though, as a somewhat intelligent man, that if you're a pretty woman in your 20s and you're intelligent and you have goals and dreams, you have the world handed to you, especially in Western culture. And this whole complaint about cannot finding someone to mate with or nice guy is really just your fault. Maybe you have poor taste. You need to open your eyes up, do some self-discovery, and see what men are about. Who's worth his chalk? Who's willing to go the extra mile? And frankly, I feel like most of Western culture comprises of men who are westernized as well. Shabby, shallow, not in shape. We have everything handed to us. So we have a consumerism. This all ties together. Stay with me. A consumerist, extractive system which atomizes us and places our value on our material wealth or what we have. And for women, that's beauty, your genetic makeup on the exterior. And for men, that's how much of an asset you are. How much money can you bring in? It doesn't matter if you're a dentist or you own a nonprofit or you run a martial arts company. It doesn't matter. Okay? Men are for their utilitarian assets. Women are for their beauty. And it took me forever to really digest this. But in this toxic culture, it's only ratcheted up to the extreme. And so The side effects being from rampant inequality, consumerism culture where everybody's objectified, turns us into just the worst qualities about us. I'm speaking as if any of this is new about human nature. No. I'm aware. Humans have always been vile and toxic and driven strongly by emotions and visual appeal, by money, wealth, status, beauty, looks. We're driven. That stuff hits us like so deep. It's primordial. You know, if you see a beautiful woman, the things that go on in your mind and man, it's all consuming. You imagine what could be and all these things. But the fact of the matter is, very likely, your dreams and aspirations of finding the one and staying together are misconstrued and unrealistic. Point blank, unrealistic. The likelihood that you will stay together longer than 8 years and still be completely satisfied with each other is almost slim to none. I think that's too much of a gamble to take. Given also, if you had children, maybe you have that's something, a glue to keep you together. But if we know that now, younger people know that it's an all or nothing institution. You find someone, you fall in love, you have a magical time together, you move in together, and then some years later you can't stand them leaving the toothpaste cap to the side or not flushing the toilet. Like, little things the bondage starts to drive you crazy. Crazy love. Yes, it's almost insane. So, what is this all tying into? It's, again, tying into the symptom of a diseased culture and society that's irredeemable. We can't fundamentally shift our values from what we've been propaganded, if that's a word, over decades. Okay? It's dystopian. So when I hear about mass shootings, several things come to mind, and I see these men, I see the pictures of this man. It's a 26-year-old guy, college graduate, seems like an upstanding guy. I will say that I knew someone that went into banking and hated the environment. Like, people would get promoted before him, even though he had more credentials and had been there for longer. Things like that, it'll drive a man mad. Let me just dissect men for a minute. We're men. And the Western man is shabby and sloppy, but real men need purpose and drive. They need a goal. They need to feel like they're connected to a community or something greater than themselves. Actually, that's not just men, that's women too. And so what has happened over decades to men and women, and why we're at this sad and just pathetic, lonely place right now, is a multifaceted effect of the cause of an unmanaged, dysregulated, dysfunctional system layered on top of really nasty human behavior. Creates this sense of alienation, isolation, judgment, It's horrible. I'm addressing the elephant in the room because it's really, I've had it up to here with people I guess people are not surprised by mass shootings anymore, by the loneliness. It's all symptoms of a disease because it's so fundamentally broken and flawed. There's no corrective path. There's no way to address each other and say, hey, do you realize we have a deep problem in our society and the way that we do things and the way that we construct reality? The way that voting occurs, all of it, the whole thing needs a system overhaul that would take much longer than any time required by our future, okay? It's irredeemable. So I'm enjoying the ride. The remedy for women and men of all ages and varieties is to continue to cultivate your own sense of serenity, of peace, and do what brings you joy. Help other people. Form a community. That's what we should be doing. Because, again, you fall in love with somebody, you think they're your everything, you move in, it collapses, and then you're left with nothing. But if you had a community, that sustains. That can sustain you. This isn't like nothing new. I'm just wasting my breath saying this one more time because I've just had it with the dysregulation and alienation, this really just pure stupidity on our behalf, the human race in Western culture. I'm not speaking to Eastern or isolated custom cultures and societies that have their own, attraction is not fundamentally a part of their decision. They make decisions based on much deeper cultural rooted values, or just the fact that you get along with somebody and you find them, they bring you joy. That's separate. Right now, we're just talking about this system, and all you can do, you're left to do because you can't fix it, it's broken, is to enjoy yourself. And there is no future. We're not meeting climate goals. So try not to be hurtful or painful to others purposefully. You should set boundaries and protect yourself. But yeah, that's all you got. Just try to enjoy yourself. I've given up this fairy tale notion, and you should too, that you're gonna find Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect come along at the concert or the bar or some community event. It's not gonna happen. You have to have realistic expectations. And I suffered with that for a long time in this culture, even as a man. One more thing about those mass shootings, and it's ultimately a symptom of men losing their sense of worth, of self-worth. Because if you had for instance, my case, I have a calling. I found something that drives me and propels me forward, which is reporting on the biggest existential crisis ever facing humanity. Every single person should be talking about this right now. It's a no-brainer. When I do that, I have less time to be squabbling about dramatic affairs with the opposite sex, or lusting after women, or wondering when I might find them, or where I might meet them. I meet them, okay? I run into them. They're most usually found in office environments with degrees and lots of college debt. They're better suited for that, for interpersonal affairs, for communication. They took our jobs. We don't really have a place anymore, men. And so you take away our sense of place, you rip us off completely with inflation and diminishing wages, not to mention inequality, which has robbed $17,000 from each of us, our paychecks, every year, and it's gone to the top 1%. The top 1% has taken $50 trillion in the past 50 years, has all gone to the 1%. And so it frays society. It makes it fight to the fittest, just pure insanity. And so I see them and I don't even budge an eye anymore. I just go right back to focusing on what I should be focused on what my soul, I guess you could say, what my purpose is in this universe, on this little rock. And that's all you got. That's really all you got. So this is my interpretation of a society that's in deep need and, in fact, cannot pull through to recover itself. We will continue to see mass shootings, loneliness, and just animosity between the sexes because the system doesn't work. That's all I got for now. Talk to you later.